What's up, college football fans? Sonoy Valente here with the Mean Green Show, and I'm joined here this evening with Shane Marinelli and Chris, better known as at FIU is Trash. And once again, guys, you know the drill. If you're a fan of college football recruiting, the transfer portal, or G5 football, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below. Let us know what you think of this video, if you agree or disagree with anything we say. And so Shane and Chris, man, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate you guys' time.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So kind of diving into a little bit of, FAU, and, obviously you guys are one of the top tier programs right now in the conference. And, what do you feel like the credit is owed to that? I'll just kind of leave it with that, give you guys the floor.
I think the recent success starts up top with the president and the athletic director. I'm sure Chris will agree with this. FAU is a school that understands that to, be a public, you're a public school, and both their leadership understands. President Kelly came from Clemson. Ryan Wright, our athletic director, is the brother of now, was UCF's athletic director and now Tennessee. So they both come from an understanding in order to grow these schools, grow attendance, grow, applications. You need to have a good athletic program. And then, of course,
right.
That's football. So there hasn't been any, when they want to invest in something, when they want to build a new $65 million football facility, the football stadium from a few years ago, it's easy. It's yes, let's do this. Let's do what we can. So that, that kind of all trickles down,
right.
That they'll never be the school. Not saying they don't want to put academics first. That's like, pretends to be something they're not,
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, and I know Willie Taggart is, the guy right now. And, Chris, your Twitter has a lot to do with him, but, what do you feel like, having a guy like Lane Kiffin coming in and, really kind of launching you guys off and making you really more of a national brand, did for, FAU, and really kind of getting the name out there and, obviously having all that success?
I mean, honestly, before Lane Kiffin got there, I came to FAU in 2017. Now I maybe watched one or two FAU games beforehand, and they honestly were garbage. They had Lucky Whitehead, and that was it. And that's all you knew about them. But when Lane got there, he put the school on the map. What he did through Twitter and what he did through with recruiting, it gave the school a name, and people started noticing what FAU was. And in 2017, he did whatever he possibly could to get FAU there. He won a conference championship in the CUSA, which FAU never did before that point. And he put Devin Singletary on the map at that point. Honestly, he had one of the best seasons ever in the Conference USA. And I mean, what he did in 2017, FAU's been building off since.
Yeah, he almost had Conor McGregor playing fullback for you guys at one point, so that was that was pretty cool. He was pretty wicked on the Twitters, and man, it just looked like he was going out there playing NCAA with the plays he would call, and he was just getting wild, and it worked, man. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, but I will say this: there was sometimes a misconception, on some FAU. Lane was kind of that finishing piece, right?
Yeah.
And I want to say Charlie Partridge, who I was critical of when he was here, Lane won with his players.
Right.
Charlie Partridge got here and kind of had to rebuild a roster that was kind of force fed with JUCO players, and kind of built it from the top, from the bottom up. And I think after this year, once the final couple Charlie Partridge players sneak out, there's going to be 10 NFL players from 3 recruiting classes under Charlie Partridge, which is amazing in G5. Devin Motor, Singletary, Rashad Smith, Aziz Al-Shire, all those guys on that team, that whole offensive line were pretty much all Charlie Partridge guys. Lane was just kind of that final piece.
Right.
Even Driscoll was brought in, kind of that, and Lane, brought in some transfers and brought in some recruits. But, when Lane was here, great, the national stuff. I think he just kind of showed what FAU can be and what kind of been invested into the program. But, I always sometimes compare it to like dating the hot blonde, you're not going to be with forever. And it's probably, being with someone else. So it's just, it wasn't going to last, but there was a good foundation. But what Willie Taggart has now is something a little bit more, it's a little bit more long-term building.
Right.
To put it.
Yeah, and kind of switching over to recruiting a little bit, both 2019 and 2020, you guys had the number one the number one recruiting class in the conference, and are currently third in this 21 class. What do you feel like has made FAU so successful at recruiting and as of late and getting these guys, to Boca Raton?
It's those things. Well, first, the stadium and the campus is like gorgeous. I mean, Boca Raton is a really pretty city. It's for a young 18-year-old kid coming from maybe somewhere in the center of the state, and you pull up on visits and you see Boca. They just put another $65 million facility on campus. Also, FAU's done a good job of always, with every staff they have outside of probably the Pelini era, where they load the staff with guys that know how to recruit the state.
Mm-hmm.
It takes kind of a special ability to recruit the state. You kind of have to know how to play the game, where to go, some of the stuff we were talking about, before we were on air, and just kind of how things kind of roll down here. And you need guys to be able to do that. You can't just come down here and look around and see all this talent everywhere and know how to pull kids out of the state. It just takes a special coach. And that's why almost every program in the country has some guy that was connected to Florida that knows how to recruit this state. It's a must-have on most staffs east of the Mississippi.
Right. And kind of, diving into that a little bit more, and I mean, I feel, it's not a knock on other Conference USA schools, but I mean, I do feel the way I feel, which is I feel FAU as well as UNT should be top dogs when it comes to recruiting. A lot of it being, you guys do have a very, attractive campus to sell. And I've actually been there before, and it is very, very appealing to the eye, mixed with, Florida is a super fertile recruiting ground. And kind of switching over to UNT, our facilities and campus is nothing to scoff at. It may not be tropical, but again, we have top tier facilities, and again, very, very, very fertile recruiting ground in our backyard. So, you guys have obviously had, more success with, I guess, translating that onto the field than we have, in the last recent years. Hopefully that'll change. But I just feel that it should be FAU and UNT, top dogs more consistently in the conference. But, we'll see. Hopefully that becomes the case.
I think what helps with the speed in the state of Florida is, Texas is, and this is kind of my whole theory on kind of Texas or Florida high school recruiting. The players down here tend to be let's just be real, they're better pure athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Texas coaches get paid more. That's why you guys produce tons of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of, the spread offenses and stuff have been in Texas much longer traditionally than they have been here. But it's easier for those guys to connect to develop into offensive players at the next level in G5. It's harder to find defensive backs. It's harder to find defensive linemen who can just go straight cover man on man and just be a pure athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Those, they grow on trees here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys who run a 4.5 and can cover their man. And I think that's kind of the difference. And we've seen that, even last year in a pandemic year, FAU's defense was still, one of the best in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man. Kind of switching to the transfer portal a little bit. So, you guys had 8 transfers in the 2019 and 10 in the 2020 class. Chris, you being more of a fan in the aspect of things, are you a fan of FAU going to the portal so aggressively and getting those guys? I mean, do you have feelings one way or the other on that?
I mean, Willie Taggart has tons of connections throughout all the college football world, and he's landed 2 4-stars. Landed 1 4-star in the 2021 class, which is Michael Johnson Jr. He had a relationship with him at Oregon. He was the number 1 player in the state of Oregon when he was at Oregon. So I'm all for the transfer portal. As Shane said, why would you go out and go get a 3-star out of high school?
Yeah, that you're hoping is going to work.
Yeah, and go get a 4-star out of the portal as your quarterback and say someone doesn't make the depth chart, they're going to hit the portal. So why would you go take someone in high school when you can go out and get someone in the portal that's a 4-star, someone that was a higher rated recruit? And, I mean, we've done pretty good in the portal so far in 2021. I think we killed it in 2020 and filled a lot of the holes.
Absolutely. And Shane, what do you feel like things are, and are you a fan of them doing that as well? And where do you feel like things are going as far as G5 schools, turning more towards the portal for their recruiting needs than maybe high school? Do you think that's something that we're going to see? And what are your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, I kind of pointed out on another podcast. It used to be you kind of judged your college football offseason by, how your recruiting rankings finished. But, I said we have to look at it more like an NFL offseason.
Mm-hmm.
North Texas, second best recruiting class in the conference, but you guys were hit by the portal exodus pretty hard.
Oh, for sure.
Right? FAU really wasn't. As I pointed out, I don't think a scholarship. I think the kicker is maybe the biggest impact player that's entered.
Didn't you guys use a quarterback?
Yeah, but that was before the season.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Robinson,
yeah.
He was a big loss before the season for us from off the field issue. And he's from right there in Texas. Blaine brought him in through the portal. But we've already gone a season without him. So, this isn't kind of someone immediate loss off last year's roster. So just the ability to bring in. I'm a fan if you can bring guys in, either it has to be a big time need or you get someone through the portal with 3 to 4 years of eligibility, and you're not just taking a guy just to be a guy. And you're seeing that some places, be a little critical of them. Western Kentucky has gotten a lot of pub for the guys they've brought in, which is fine. It's great. They have all these guys in the portal, but they've had 19 guys enter the portal since the beginning of last season. At that point, you're not so much adding to your roster. You're just filling holes kind of on a sinking ship. You lose the safety, you fill it with another safety. You're not building depth. You're not, guys who are going to make impact later in the season.
Right.
Injuries kind of stack up.
Yeah.
It becomes harder just to develop the team. You have so many guys that have played a couple years. So I like being able to get guys like Michael Johnson, or like after you got Keyshawn Green, who has 4 years of eligibility. He was top 100 player in the state or in the country.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people, they kind of get, a little salty whenever a team has success, and they'll kind of use that as somewhat of a dig of, they get all their guys through the portal, all their guys are, whatever the case may be. But, if it works, it works. And, it obviously has worked for you guys. It's worked for teams like SMU. And, I think UNT is beginning to get a little bit more aggressive. And, I'm a fan of being aggressive in the portal. I think that you should have a healthy mix.
Attractive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like any other recruiting.
100%. I think you need that good mix of, some high school kids and portal. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a 50-50 thing. Half your kids high school, half of them, which would be high. But I mean, whatever, man. If they can plug and play, that's what you need. I really wanted to touch on the topic of not so much from like the decommitment of him, but really of just you guys retained him until he went to play for his pops. And I think you guys all know where I'm going with this, but I wanted to talk on Shadier Sanders. Obviously, again, him going to play for his dad at Jackson, Jackson State. That's not really a true flip in my mind, if you will, going to play for your dad. But up until that point, you guys had him locked in all the way. And, I just think it's interesting being that, him being Deion's son obviously has all the football knowledge in the world. And up until his dad getting a head coaching job, he chose to go to FAU, a Conference USA G5 school, over offers of like Alabama, Michigan. The list is pretty long. And, I actually, had I guess what's the word I'm looking for? I was able to go watch him in high school play, and a few different times, a few different years. And I mean, he could play, he can play, and his stats back up, his rating. But I mean, what do you feel like we'll see an uptick in that with not only FAU, but G5 football as a whole, just these upper rated guys, maybe kind of thinking it through. And if you guys are familiar with Preston Stone, he's going to SMU. He's a big time quarterback recruit. He kind of fits this same mold. But do you think we could see an uptick in these highly rated guys choosing, like, I can go to an Alabama, I can go to an OU, or wherever the case may be, and be kind of another guy for them, or not, whatever, or I can choose to go to this smaller school and be essentially the guy, and what was, kind of a two tandem question here. So do you think we could see an uptick in that, A, and B, when you guys did have Shadier in the boat, what was the fans' thought on landing, the all-time program recruit in the quarterback? And what are your thoughts on that?
So the Shadier Sanders recruitment was almost a year-long thing for me. I kind of knew there was interest even months before it got out there. There was during a 7-on-7 tournament, and during when Prime 7 played down here, there was Dad and him drove around campus. And I knew about that, but had to be hush-hush about it, for months. But, when he committed, it was great. You always look a little extra deeper, though. Willie Taggart and his staff has had a long connection to Deion Sanders. Raymond Woody, his son's an Under Armour All-American with Florida State. Went and he coached, or his son played at the Under Armour camp, which Deion Sanders runs in Orlando. Okay. So, it's almost, as it was put to me, playing for Willie Taggart and Coach Kelly Woody, it was almost like playing for family in a way.
Sure.
He really did want to come here. That was not, it was just a facade. The Jackson State thing came up, and obviously there's pressure when your dad's trying to build something. And obviously there's other money things being involved with, not to him, but just that program is going to draw a lot of sponsors and a lot of things, and having a father and son has a lot to do with that. Nonetheless, to your second part of your question, I don't think there's going to be a huge uptick. I think, kind of what 4 stars and stuff going, we've seen this once in a while before. It has to be kind of the perfect program. Yeah. It's usually a metro. It's a Cincinnati, someone like an FAU, even kind of on that fringe, an SMU, tons of money. Yeah. UCF, right? They're going to have the perfect coach, kind of the perfect scenarios to truly flip one of these kids. Right. Maybe if there's college football expansion, the playoff, and more of these teams have opportunities, I think that's the only way you could maybe see spreading out for recruitment. Yeah. But nonetheless, not really. And quarterback's the only position it does really happen at. Cincinnati got a 4-star quarterback last cycle too, because there's just less positions those kids can play on the field. So, I've heard that question asked before, but until I see the trends, I think only 2 4-stars committed to G5s all last cycle. Yeah. He was in the running for that offensive tackle, forgetting the name. Everyone thought they were going to get him. And guess what? He's going to play for Lincoln Riley. Yeah, of course. Right. So, yeah. And
I got to add that I think the last time you'll see something as big as, say, Shadier Sanders, would be Ed Oliver going to Houston. I mean, that was insane. He came to a G5, so I don't think you'll ever see. As Shane said, it's got to be the perfect situation. He wanted to play for Houston. He went to Houston. That was probably the biggest splash that ever happened in the G5. Saying
did he go the first round?
Yeah, he did. I think he went in the first round. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest splash you'll see in a G5 program. Have a 5-star recruit come to. And I thought Shadier Sanders was locked in. I saw him firsthand at the FAU season opener. Shane saw him play. I thought he was locked in, but when I saw that Jackson State offer, I doubted everything.
I drove 10 hours to see him play.
When they played, didn't they play what was that school they played on?
No, I'm just.
They played that.
It was televised.
That was. You drove 10 hours. My God, Deion owes you some gas money.
There was 2 FAU commits. The safety.
Did he flip too? Did he?
And there was a linebacker at the other school. That, ended up going to Jackson State. Yeah. So. Yeah. But it's part of the game. Man,
one thing.
The Ed Oliver thing again. Houston was also really, really good at that time. So. And they had Tom Herman, and it was all those combination of things. So
Yeah, and really, if for nothing else, just a story of college football, for what it's worth. But Ed Oliver, it did work for him. I think wasn't he like wasn't he like sixth overall pick or something in the first? I don't know.
To the Bills.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, he chose a G5 and it really, really worked. Had he chose a Power 5, would it worked out the same way? Not saying it wouldn't have, but you never know. Maybe, him getting on the field earlier kind of helped that out. And, Chris kind of wanted to gear more towards you real quick, still staying on the Shadier topic. And because, myself, we had a 2020 quarterback, not even on the caliber of Shadier Sanders, who was verbal to us, was all in on us, and then flipped, last second to go to Ole Miss. And man, as a fan in me, I was pretty upset I would go as far as to say even into this football season when our quarterback play was kind of how it was. I was like, man, if we would have had this guy, he could have came in as a true freshman. But so Chris, from the fan in you, how hurt were you to lose that commitment in Shadier?
Honestly, it would have all been so easy next season. It would have been so easy next season saying, oh, Shadier is going to step in. He has the whole offensive line returning, and he has a decent running back core. He has a decent wide receiver core. It would have been so easy, but I mean, it hurt to see. But once I saw the Jackson State offer, I knew it was done. There was no way he was going to go play for his dad.
Yeah.
But I mean, even just Willie even landing him for the time he did was still huge, and just shows how good of a recruiter he is and how good he's able to just hone in on what he has for his relationships.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you guys think he would have came in and started as a true freshman? You don't think so? What do you think, Chris?
I mean,
I think it's too big to ask, but I'm just going to answer that question with a lot of freshmen. It's too big to ask.
Especially at the quarterback position, sure.
Maybe he enrolled early, and FAU's kind of light on quarterback right now, but I don't know. I don't really know how that situation would have worked out.
Kind of an interesting developing story at Jackson State. One of our walk-on QBs, Grayson Thompson, he went into the transfer portal. Deion Sanders picked him up, and he's going to be in the competition for the starting QB role in the spring season because Shadier can't play supposedly in the spring. That I guess that's a rule. And even though he's early enrollee and all that, I guess he can't play in this spring season. So, it'd be kind of cool. What if whoever the quarterback ends up being, what if they pop off? Is Deion going to pull him for his son? I mean, probably, right? But so that'll be cool. That'll be interesting.
I'm interested in how that whole we'll call it experiment works out.
They need to do a Last Chance U documentary on that.
Yeah, but Jackson State, and don't want to talk too much on them. They had to make promises to Deion on facility upgrades, and that school, has a lot of, you think G5 schools have a lot of catching up to catching up to like a Miami or Florida.
Yeah.
Jackson State has a lot of facility catching up and stuff. Yeah. And you just wonder if maybe not so much of the spring season, if one season goes bad and that shine wears off at all,
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And I wonder how long Deion will be there. Is it going to be kind of like a 2 to 3 years, has a lot of success and bounces, or is it going to be he's going to stay there for somewhat of a long haul, like 7 years or so? That'll be interesting.
There's only 5 coaches in all of FBS college football have been somewhere longer than 10 years.
Yeah,
so it's not like that's like Kirk Ferentz, Nick Saban, a handful of others. Is anyone really? That's what people always like. Oh, is it? We need a coach to be our long term.
Yeah,
no one's anywhere long term.
Yeah, no way, not in this business.
We're moving out. That's it. That's just that. I expect in a few years, in at least 10 years, North Texas and FAU will probably have another football coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Just how it works.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Anything else you think we missed out on as far as all the FAU topics go?
I think we got everything.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. Well, all right, guys. Once again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and be sure to follow Shane and Chris on the Twitters. I'm going to give them a tag when I post this video. And, FAU fans, we want to hear what you guys think. So let us know in the comments below. And, once again, guys, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank
Absolutely.
you.